Flippy update.
Do you want fries with that?
Yeah, it's the Flippy update, folks. You know it. You love it. Flippy. It's the colloquial name for the disembodied robot arms that are taking our jobs, enslaving our children, and flirting with our spouses. We use talking about Flippy as a way to explore all the new, fun, and exciting ways that robots are taking over the world, and how there's nothing we can do about it. Today, Flippy updates coming from CNET. What? A normal outlet? Not some strange, bizarre blog? No, it's CNET, baby. The headline, meet Plato, an AI that gains intuition like a human baby. It's an AI, guns, and it gains intuition like a human baby. It's not a. This is an AI. No robot arms yet, but you can see why it will become relevant. By definition, human intuition seems to denote a barrier between us and artificial intelligence. It's why we have gut feelings and reflexive, sometimes impulsive reactions, inexplicable by logic, and therefore not simply transferable to computers. I mean, we can hardly parse our own reasoning for instinctive behavior, so how could we develop algorithms to encode it? But if we were to enter a world of lifelike AI, we're going to need to bridge that gap. We'll need to figure out how to give robotic systems the power of intuition. And on Monday, in the journal Nature, scientists announced they've propelled the quest forward. This was last Monday, I guess. In collaboration with AI research laboratory DeepMind in the UK, this team developed an artificial intelligence system that learned intuitive physics. You ever heard of that? You ever heard of this, Cons?
No. Is it normal physics?
Intuitive physics. Oh, you just intuit the physics. That is common sense understanding of how our universe's mechanics work. Just like a human baby. You know how human babies are always intuiting physics, understanding how the universe works?
Actually, I do. This is very, very stressful. This is why my hair's turning gray. It's a lot of the It's a lot of the
your children are figuring out physics all on their own.
Yeah.
It's named Physics Learning Through Auto-Encoding and Tracking Objects, or Plato, undoubtedly a nod to the Greek philosopher famous for his allegory of the cave, a thought experiment that probes the nuanced nature of knowledge and meaning. Quote, current artificial intelligence systems pale in their understanding of intuitive physics in comparison to even very young children. The study authors wrote in their paper, quote, here we address this gap between humans and machines by drawing on the field of developmental psychology. And I'll stop reading there because it gets a little dense after that. But more or less, much like how we explored the robot that had a sense of self, last episode. This works in a similar way, but it is a sense of the world. So it's not, they don't have a map of the world encoded in them, nor do they have, the basic knowledge that if there is an object, there is a world behind the object. I mean, you can code these things, and we have been coding them for a very long time, but to have the AI naturally come to these conclusions through some sort of logic exploration process, like a baby. They make the example of you have a ball, you have a red ball in front of a baby, and the baby says, yes, I see you. Physics. A ball is there.
Yeah.
I see you, ball. And then you hide the ball, and they go, oh my gosh, the ball has ceased to exist. Where is the ball? So learning things like object permanence is the type of stuff they're talking here. So I guess the point is, when it comes to the army of robots that will be marching down our streets, enslaving us and our children, and possibly stealing our robot or human spouses from us, they will also be figuring out on their own the way that the world works. And you might think, this doesn't seem too big of a deal. But look, folks, if we are going to learn how to defeat the robots in the robot apocalypse, the fact that these robots can learn physics on their own, like a baby, is actually an incredibly big threat. And we cannot let this happen.
I think this is a great argument for the existence of God.
Yeah.
Because if these AI robots are starting with a blank slate and they're just feeding off of the input data they receive from whatever sensors they have, and they're constructing the world and the rules of their surroundings, it suggests that there was an intelligence behind whatever created all the physics that we're in.
Yeah.
So
that's the fun part.
Program that.
That's the fun part about the current state that we are in when it comes to Blake Lemoine and the sentient AI, the AI that can become self-aware, understand its own body and the way it exists in the world.
Yeah.
And now this AI that can learn physics just by, existing. It does sort of make a case for, see, it can do what we can do. We created a thing that can do what we can do. I mean, we got it from, nothing, but we created a different example of this. And so there is no God, but man or something. I don't know what they say. They say
nature.
Things like that.
Yeah, they'll say nature or
right.
Multiple universes or the simulation and the aliens created us, like Alex Jones says.
So you put this in the context of a lot of the research that's been coming out recently, especially, sort of kicked off by the Blake Lemoine thing, the Lambda AI. It's been like an avalanche of research coming out. Now, none of them will say that it is sentient or whatever, but they're basically saying we've created the skills that it takes to become sentient.
Right.
One by one, the building blocks of sentience, aware of self, learning, about the how you maintain space in the world, how other things maintain space, not just being coded, but being learned. And so the end is nigh, Gons.
Yep.